The city has never looked better. And the White Sox, after spending 11 days on the road, are finally home. White Sox baseball tonight on Comcast Sportsnet against the Detroit Tigers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Chuck Swirsky for Ken Harrelson. The Hawk returns on Sunday, joined alongside my broadcast partner, Steve Stone, former Cy Young Award winner. And, Steve, let's talk a little White Sox baseball. Jose Quintana gets the call for Robin Ventura.
Jose Quintana might be the most unlucky pitcher in all of baseball because every time he goes out there, the Sox don't score. His last 7 starts, a perfect example. He's 1-5, his ERA under 3. He's allowed 2 earned runs or less in 6 of those starts. And in those starts, the Sox have scored 10 runs. So when you get that kind of offensive support, you're not going to win a whole lot. And unfortunately, being one of the better pitchers around, he's not winning a lot.
Well, Steve, let's talk about that lack of support from the White Sox.
Let's take a look at the offensive numbers, and you'll see why they're having such big problems. In runs, they're second to last. In home runs, they're tied for second to last. Stolen bases, well, not very good, as you can see, at 28th. 28th in walks, and on base percentage tied for 26th. And it's no coincidence they've been outscored 46-14 in the first inning. That's something to look at tonight. Hopefully Jose can get off to a good start and the Sox can score early.
All right, Tigers really struggling, folks. They've lost 7 in a row. So the obvious question for Steve Stone, why?
It's pretty easy. Victor Martinez is not in the lineup, and as you can see, with Victor, they were doing well, 23-16. Without him, just 5-11. The batting average is way down without Victor. The runs per game also way down, and runners in scoring position where Victor excels, 60 points lower. Now, Victor was hitting the ball very well from the right side, but that knee gave him problems. He wasn't hitting from the left side at all. They also miss Alex Avila, so tonight, let's take advantage of it. Let's make it 8 in a row for the Tigers.
Why not? I agree with you. So it's the White Sox and Tigers Italian Heritage Night. Bobby Bertucci doing what he does best. We're at the ballpark here for the White Sox and Tigers in the first of 3 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. Audi, truth in engineering. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to beautiful U.S. Cellular Field on an absolutely gorgeous night for baseball. It's 55 degrees. The skies are clear, and the Sox are back home where they've done pretty well this year. Let's take a look at how Brad Ausmus is going to line up his Tigers tonight. Rajai Davis is going to lead it off with Ian Kinsler in the 2 spot. Then it's Miguel Cabrera. Yoenis Cespedes hitting cleanup. J.D. Martinez, Nick Castellanos, James McCann, Josh Wilson, and Jose Iglesias playing shortstop and hitting 9. The defense and how they'll line up behind Jose Quintana. Melky Cabrera, Adam Eaton, and Aviseo Garcia in the outfield left to right. With Gordon Beckham, Alexei Ramirez, Carlos Sanchez, and Adam LaRoche in the infield. Tyler Flowers with the nod behind the plate, and our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Jose Quintana. On for the 11th time, he's just 2-6. His ERA 4.33. As you can see, pretty good control, 55 strikeouts, 19 walks, and left-handers haven't hit him at all. The umpires for the game tonight. Laz Diaz behind the plate. Corey Blazer's at first. Chris Guccione is at second. And the crew chief, Jeff Nelson, is at third. So the Tigers come in. Losers of 7 games in a row. On the road this year, they actually have a winning record. Most surprising, they have a losing record at home. And there you look at Brad Ausmus, the skipper of the Tigers in his 2nd year. Former Major League catcher, and a very good one. Sox come in last place, 7.5 games in back of Minnesota. Minnesota's at home where they've dominated. So they play Milwaukee, and they're 19-7 at home. So they've thrown the ball around the infield, which means we're ready to play baseball, and I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Chuck Swirsky.
All right, Steve, always a pleasure. Italian Heritage Night here at the ballpark. And Steve Stone has promised he's going to present us with cannolis tonight in the middle innings, along with some Twitter information.
I never knew that Bobby Bertucci was Italian until I saw him in our opening.
Well, leading off is Rajai Davis, the speedster, journeyman outfielder, and he's hit Quintana hard over the past 3 years. And the first pitch underway. In fact, Davis, Kinsler, and Cabrera, and we're going to see them this inning, Steve, respectively against Quintana, 355, 304, and 360.
Well, fortunately, the one man who has really torched him is Victor Martinez, who was hitting .833 this year and .500 lifetime against him. And Victor on the disabled list where he's been since May 19th.
There's a little chopper. It's going to roll foul. This Detroit ball club, as Steve mentioned, Brad Ausmus getting a lot of heat in Motown regarding this start, or lack thereof, by the Tigers. They won 9 out of their first 10, Steve. And then what happened?
What happened was they started to get banged up. And the man they're missing actually more than Victor Martinez, surprisingly, is Alex Avila. He hasn't been able to play. He handles the pitching staff exceptionally well. Brad Ausmus, a longtime Major League catcher, will tell you that a great catcher is invaluable. And Alex Avila is not a big run producer, but he handles the staff particularly well.
Little chopper. Quintana fields it, fires to first. He's out. Nice play.
Good play on both ends, as you got to hurry with Davis going up the line, and Jose knew that. So he does hurry. The throw's in the dirt. And Adam LaRoche, who's a former Gold Glove first baseman, picks this one easily. And they get him by about a half step.
This is going to bring on Ian Kinsler. Kinsler, on the season for the Tigers, has struggled. A homer, 23 RBIs, batting .267. He had a couple of hits yesterday, and the Tigers lost to the A's. But prior to that, Steve, he was 3 for 36.
He loves a first ball fastball, and he's going to see one here.
Yeah, we just saw the man he was traded for in Prince Fielder. Why was that trade consummated between Detroit and Texas 2 years ago?
Detroit signed a contract that was very hefty, as was Prince at the time.
Shattered bat, ground ball, Beckham over to LaRoche, and we have 2 down.
The reason why Detroit made that trade was they wanted to get a little freedom financially. So they sent Prince along with $30 million, and they got a really good second baseman in Ian Kinsler. And Prince has turned out to be exactly what they thought he would be when they signed him, which was a great hitting first baseman. He was always a terrific hitter with Milwaukee. He's turned into that once again after the neck surgery. But they got some financial relief because they had planned to try to shore up their pitching staff. They wanted to make a run at Max Scherzer and offer him a great deal of money. It didn't work out, and he went to the Nationals.
Well, stepping in right now is Miguel Cabrera, and you know the story on him. He's headed to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown one day. He is second in the league in batting, .333, only to Prince Fielder, as Steve mentioned. He's 6th in the league in hits, 11th in the league in homers, 7th in the league in RBIs, 3rd in the league in walks, and number 1 in the American League in slugging percentage at .435.
He's also one of the smartest hitters in the league with all of that talent included.
And by the way, no errors at first base this season.
He's made some great plays. You can't run on him. You think occasionally when he catches a pop-up with his back to the infield, you might be able to tag up. That hasn't worked out very well for base runners in the American League.
1-1 pitch, 2 out here, just underway in Chicago. You know, Steve, I was reading more and more about Cabrera because I'm fascinated with his career. He came up as a youngster, as a shortstop. He was moved to third, and at the age of 20, he was a member of that Marlins ball club that won a World Series.
He also played right field in that series.
Quintana right back to the mound. 1-2-3. We'll go to the bottom of the first in a moment. Nice start for the White Sox here in Chicago.
Adam Eaton leading it off with Alexi Ramirez in a 2 spot. Then it's Jose Abreu, Avi Garcia, Adam LaRoche, Melky Cabrera, who's done well against the Tigers, Gordon Beckham, Tyler Flowers, and Carlos Sanchez rounding it out. Let's take a look at the defense and how they'll line up behind Kyle Ryan. Cespedes, Davis, and Martinez in the outfield with Wilson, Iglesias, Kinsler, and Cabrera in the infield. James McCann behind the plate. And our Lexus Pursuing Perfection starting pitcher is Kyle Ryan. Those are the numbers in AAA. He didn't win a game, but his ERA was respectable. He's a soft-tossing left-hander, and that usually gives the Sox some problems.
Adam Eaton will lead it off for the White Sox. Eaton went 2 for 5 last night. That heartbreaking loss in 11 to the Rangers. And in that Texas series, Adam went 4 for 12, had 4 RBIs, stole a couple of bases, and scored 3 runs. Ryan's first major league game and start, as you mentioned, Steve, right here in Chicago, late August of last season. 5 hit balls, 6 scoreless innings.
Unfortunately, that has been the case against many of the soft-tossing left-handers that the Sox haven't seen. But let's see if they can get to Ryan tonight.
Sox have dropped 5 out of their last 6 at home, looking to right the ship against Detroit. Houston coming to town on Monday. And Houston, we want to see you here at the ballpark, folks. That's a long ball hitting team, and it's going to have some fun baseball between the two clubs. Eaton swings and misses.
This is Ryan's slider, and it's a pretty good one, especially when he gets ahead. In order for that to be effective, he's got to establish the inside part of the plate. He threw one up and in, and then going low and away. It's a classic pitcher's pattern, and turned into a strikeout.
Alexei 3 for 14 in the Rangers series on the season. Couple of homers, along with 21 RBIs, batting .226. And you talked about this during the road trip, the importance of the number 2 hitter in the lineup.
It's much more important when the leadoff man gets on if the leadoff man is a base stealer, because you have to hit down in the count, and you have to be able to hit with 2 strikes. Now, Alexei is not your normal prototypical 2-hitter because he loves high fastballs early in the count. And Wilson is playing now very close to the line and back at third. You should expect to see the left side of the infield get a whole lot of work tonight. Wilson at third, Iglesias at short. Iglesias is a defensive wizard.
Both teams chasing Minnesota, the leader in the American League Central. The Twins in action tonight against Milwaukee. Two-two pitch coming up with 1 out here in the bottom of the first. Ramirez goes the other way and lines a single to right field, and Alexei is on base here. It's going to set it up for Jose Abreu.
Let's take a look at our picks to click. Chuck/Hawk.
Yes.
Sticking with Melky.
Yes.
Doggedly so.
Go, Melky.
I've got Gordon Beckham, and the crew is taking Carlos Sanchez. Carlos realizing that he's not hitting the ball as well as he can, but he knows there's a couple of different aspects to the game, and he doesn't let it affect his fielding, which has been magnificent, especially in that ball game last night.
Now, Hawk's coming back on Sunday, folks. We have a national TV Fox broadcast tomorrow. So, Hawk, when you return here on Sunday, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going down with Melky all the way, thick and thin.
Tried to talk him into Zeke Benura, but he would not take the bait.
Actually, because we're playing the Tigers, I was thinking about Don Wirt, the third baseman on the '68 Tiger Championship Club.
Dick McAuliffe.
Yep. Let's see. Mickey Stanley played short. Remember, they took Ray Oyler out of the lineup that year. All right, so Abreu steps in against Ryan. And the pitch. What do you see out of Jose? I know he had that swollen finger, but on the road trip, Steve, your assessment of his play?
When he came back, which was fairly recently, he's looked very good. No ill effects at all from the swollen finger. And in the middle of this lineup, it just is a whole different look.
We have 1 out here in the bottom of the first. Ramirez takes off, chop foul to the left.
Alexei had a very good jump, but with a 1-strike count, you can't really afford to take a pitch. As you can see, he's going on first move, and Ryan doesn't pay a lot of attention to him. He uses the high leg kick, and Alexei would have had that one stolen easily.
Cabrera holding Ramirez on at first. No balls, couple of strikes, 1 out. Back to first we go. Abreu on the season, 9 homers, 32 RBIs at .280. And you have to think, Steve, with the weather hoping to change in Chicago, you never know. I mean, it's a chilly night here at the ballpark, but Jose should have a monster month of June.
Here we are in the first week of June, and it's still 55 degrees at game time.
We got Johnny Danks going tomorrow in Samardzija on Sunday. Danks had a remarkable ball game and a win over Houston on the trip. 10 hits, but he threw a shutout in a 6-0 victory for the White Sox. On an 0-2 pitch, Ryan against Abreu. Ramirez on the run, well hit in the left center field, and that ball is headed all the way to the ball. Ramirez turns the corner at third. He will score, and Abreu with a stand-up double here, and the White Sox take a 1-0 lead.
RBI number 33, as Jose just tattooed that ball in the gap. Ramirez picking a good pitch to run, gets a good jump. That fastball was low, and at 89, if you get it middle out, Jose's going to hit it hard. And his presence back in the lineup, it can't be overstated. It sets up the entire lineup, and surprising thing is he gave him that good a pitch to hit.
Now bring up Garcia against his former club in Detroit. Lifetime, he's 4 for 23. He's 0 for his past 11 off this road swing. 1-0 White Sox here. Here's the pitch. That trade benefited really Chicago along with Detroit, with Peavy going to Boston.
It was a three-way deal, and Boston needed Peavy. They needed another pitcher. The Tigers needed a shortstop. The reason the Tigers needed a shortstop, they knew that Johnny Peralta was going to be suspended for PEDs. And when he was suspended, Iglesias filled in nicely. Then last year, he had fractures of both shins.
Yes.
Most amazing. Now he's back and doing what they thought he would do all along.
0-2 pitch. Yeah, I've never heard of that, Steve. Maybe one, but not two in the case of Iglesias.
And unfortunately for the Tigers, it put him out for the entire year. And there you see what Javi's done with runners in scoring position, hitting close to 300.
Abreu, the runner at second after an RBI double. Garcia swings and misses, and he struck him out.
We'd like to welcome all our viewers watching on MTC Communications in Colchester, Illinois.
Yeah, that's one place I have never been to.
Beautiful spot.
I'm sure it is. And we welcome all of our viewers in Colchester and everyone in the great state of Illinois and throughout the Midwest and watching on the satellite dish. The White Sox baseball, 3 with the Tigers and then 3 with Houston, then on the road a week from tonight against Tampa Bay. 1-0 Sox with 2 outs. LaRoche has played well.
He's played very well, and now he's had the opportunity because of the sore finger of Abreu to play defensively. And there's the last 10 where he's hitting .333. They once again employ the extreme shift on him.
Cold strike, 0-2.
That ball off the outside corner, and he's letting Las Diaz know that he kind of thought that one was a touch wide.
So when did the shift, Steve, become so pronounced and enhanced by Major League ball clubs?
Well, obviously they shifted on a few players, and we went back in the last broadcast, talked about Lou Boudreau doing it in 48, but it became very popular, I believe, when computers came more into vogue because you could really tell exactly where guys hit the ball. And also, you always had the defensive charts. That wasn't a problem. And suddenly guys thought, look, we can take the power away from a real powerful hitter by shifting on him, giving him, in this case with LaRoche, giving him the left side. If he wants to hit a ground ball that way, well, let him do it. It goes against the norm because he's a dead pull hitter. The smarter hitters will just take it and flip it to left field or bunt the ball to the left side, and eventually they stop shifting.
2-2 pitch to Adam. Swung on, and there's a lazy fly ball. Running in is the center fielder, Davis, and he makes the grab. But the White Sox take a 1-0 lead here in the first. We'll return in a moment from Chicago.
5-6 is not all that bad on a tough road trip. The starting pitching has been very good. The last 9 games, the ERA for the starters, 2.39. When you get 7 quality starts in 9 games, you figure you're going to do a whole lot better. You only allowed 2 home runs. But this really shows you, graphically, if you will, how the offense and lack thereof has affected the ball club. And that's one of the reasons why Alexei was in the 2 spot. And for Robin, he made a change. He put a guy who was struggling in a different spot in the batting order, turned into a run in the first inning. Last time the Sox have had the lead, they've won 5 of the last 6 games where they've scored first. So, a pretty good omen.
Well, stepping in is Yoenis Cespedes, and Cespedes has owned Quintana, Steve. He's got some big numbers.
This would be a great year for Cespedes to have a great year. He's in the last year of his contract. One of the reasons why he signed with Oakland in the first place was they wanted to sign him to a 4-year deal. One of the few teams who wanted to do that. Everybody thought, well, he'd probably like 6. He wanted 4 so he could get out and get another big contract.
As I look at his play, and he has been involved in not 1 but 2 major trades, Steve. He was traded in August, Oakland to Boston for John Lester, then in the offseason for Rick Porcello.
That's what happens when you're running out of contract.
And Porcello, of course, then decided to re-up with the Red Sox. He got 4 years, $82 million.
Well, it also showed you that Detroit wanted to win now, and they didn't know that they were going to lose Verlander for any length of time. And also the loss of Scherzer is a huge loss. He's thrown pretty well with the Nationals.
There's a ground ball. Ramirez spins, fires, and safe.
Can't play it any better than Alexei played it. He was going to his left, did the 360 spin, got it to first as fast as he could, but Cespedes runs too well. This is a pretty good effort. And to call it first, like Corey Blazer, you got the call right.
That's going to bring on J.D. Martinez. Martinez, 1 for his last 12 on the season, 9 homers, 22 RBIs, batting .256. So the Tigers with a man aboard here in the top of the second. White Sox with a 1-0 lead on an RBI double in the bottom of the first by Jose Abreu. Give me an idea, Steve, about Cespedes regarding his speed and his running ability on the base path.
You got yourself your prototypical 5-tool player. There's not much that he can't do. He's got a cannon for an arm. He runs, as you saw, very well. He's got big power and can hit for average. And he's not the greatest fielder around, but he's pretty good. So he's going to bring a lot of money on the open market. Detroit is hoping that they can win with him this year. This team is built to win this year. But it has not been going well recently.
The Tigers have won 4 straight American League Central titles. They won it on the last day of the season a year ago, 3-0 over Minnesota, thus becoming the first team to win 4 straight crowns since Cleveland from 95 to 99. Then the Tigers were swept by Baltimore in the playoffs. J.D. Martinez with a big swing and a miss, and Quintana strikes him out.
Not surprising, because J.D. leads his team in strikeouts by a fairly wide margin. This is strikeout number 64. Nobody else is close to the 60s, so he takes a fastball up and out of the zone, and he takes him down. First strikeout of the night.
That's going to bring on the designated hitter, Castellanos. He plays some third, is a DH. We have 1 out here with 1 on in the top of the second for the Tigers.
Castellanos has grounded into 7 double plays this year. That's second on the ball club. Defensively, it has not been a good year for him. And talk around Detroit is that if Nick doesn't hit 20-plus home runs and drive in some substantial runs, it's going to be very tough to play him defensively on a daily basis.
He was a non-first round pick, but he got a huge signing bonus, $3.5 million.
And at one point, along with Avisail Garcia, they were prospects number 1 and 2, the most highly rated prospects in the Detroit system.
Cespedes at first. Fly ball to right. Garcia moves over about 3 steps to his left, makes the catch. You're right. I mean, they need him and his bat to get going.
They need him. They have to have Avila back. Because without Alex Avila, and as good as McCann is, and they love James McCann, they believe he's a #1 catcher in the future. But right now, a catcher who can handle a pitching staff, call his own game, understand how to do that, is invaluable. And Alex Avila called his own game back in Alabama in college when no catchers were doing that. That's one of the reasons why catchers can't call games these days. They're not allowed to. Either the pitching coach or the manager calls their games in college, and Avila was so good at it that his college coach trusted him to call the game. And it certainly paid dividends in the major leagues.
0-1, 2 outs here. So let's talk about that trust factor for a moment for a young player, Steve, not only in college, but for the minor leagues. How do you earn that trust? How do you get it if your manager is calling the pitch?
It's pretty difficult, and that's, like the chicken and egg theory. To have the trust to call the game, the manager has to believe that you can do that. Well, to do that, you've had to have the trust along the line for somebody to say, go do it. Now, Brad Ausmus, who caught for a long time and was one of the smarter catchers around, can appreciate a catcher who can handle a game, and he certainly is not going to give Avila the signs.
Here's the pitch. And I'll say this for Ausmus. When I would go into locker rooms covering baseball games and whatnot, always a heady player, very intelligent, could break down a game as well as anyone.
Go to the Ivy League and you get an Ivy League education.
That's true.
More times than not, you're going to be pretty smart.
I would think so. 1-1 count, 2 outs. But you're right. I mean, the Tigers very high on McCann. In fact, during the road swing where they were really, obviously, they got swept by the Angels. Mike Scioscia, the manager of the Angels, said that McCann is really good. He has great carry when he throws the ball.
Nice that he can get it to the bag.
So I guess what a manager's talking about from one catcher, Scioscia was a very good catcher with the Dodgers. When he has great carry with the ball, does that mean the release and when he throws down to second or attempts to get base runners out?
You like your catcher to be able to have enough arm strength so that the ball doesn't do a great deal of tailing. And also you'd like him to be able to keep it on a fly as low as he can, keep it on a fly to second base.
A ball and 2 strikes. I know the folks in Detroit, they have been waiting for this Tiger team to, after a great start, as we mentioned, 9 of 10, then they hit the skids now, but they keep waiting for this Tiger offense to wake up. And they are getting good news because Avila has taken some batting practice swings, Martinez as well. Verlander, the pitcher, he is in a rehab start tomorrow. Swing and a miss by McCann. Nice job by Quintana. And we go to the bottom of the second in a moment. 1-0 White Sox.
Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Sunday night, tune in to CSN for an all-new episode of Beer Money. It's Chicago's most popular game show. Fans test their sports trivia knowledge. Try to win big. That's Sunday, 9:30, right here on Comcast Sportsnet.
And if you win some beer money, that's what you get.
Hey,
you're pretty good at trivia. I think you would be outstanding at that.
I don't know about that, Steve, but I will tell you this. My pick to click is Melky. I think I've taken Melky every night, and if not every night, close to it.
And unfortunately, Melky still immersed in a bit of a slump. Hopefully he breaks out of it this evening. From the right side, it's been really tough for him. He's hitting .085 right-handed. 4 hits for 47 at-bats. Left-handed, he's done a lot better, hitting .277. In fact, he's hit in tough luck from the left side. But he's got to pick up the right side. And no better night than tonight.
A homer, 17 RBIs, batting .235 of the Rangers series. To amplify what Steve Stone is discussing about the hitting woes of Melky, 2 for 14 against Texas pitching. You touched upon this in the open. You know, you got to get some runs for Quintana. But overall, it's just not Quintana. The hitters, hopefully in the month of June, will really, come to life.
Well, we went through it graphically and showed you just how it's been. Doesn't mean it has to be that way as it warms up, but it's that way now. And that one hit hard, but right back at Ryan. He almost throws it away, but Cabrera. This has become a surprisingly good first baseman. I say surprisingly because he is a big man and he played third base. They moved him to first, and he's done a fine job there.
Speaking of fine jobs, how about Beckham? 5 for 12 of the Rangers series. He's now hit safely in 10 of the past 11 games, batting now .283 and playing a great glove at third.
Since Gordon's got a chance to play most every day, that swing is getting better and better. Outfield playing him straight away, as is the infield.
And he goes the other way to right field. That's going to be caught by Martinez. And there are 2 down here in the bottom of the second, bringing up Tyler Flowers.
Ryan was the single-A Lakeland pitcher of the year in 2013, so he was pretty highly thought of in the minor league system with the Tigers. But guys who don't throw real hard, you have a harder time getting to the major leagues unless there's been some injuries or some guys leave for free agency or some trades of quality pitchers. And for the Tigers, it's been all of the above. They traded Pfister. He went to the Nationals. They lost Scherzer to free agency. He went to the Nationals. There you look at his minor league numbers.
Well, Dave Dombrowski, very, very aggressive as a general manager. He's not afraid to pull the trigger.
No, he has been from the beginning, and he's got a mandate from ownership to go get him.
And the thing is, Steve, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, once a year, once a season, he pulls off something big. Somewhere, somehow, he does it.
We're getting to the point now where we've seen one major deal. We're starting to see some more. Right now, there's most every team in baseball just concentrating on the draft because that's of vital importance, especially the teams with a lot of picks in the high rounds. And that draft is going to be from the 8th of June to the 10th of June, and we'll tell you a little bit something about it later on.
Grounded to third on the short hop. Wilson over to Cabrera, and that will retire the side for the White Sox. 1, 2, 3 for the Sox here in the second. Third inning coming up at the moment right here on Comcast Sportsnet.
baseball season. The Pick 7 plan offers fans a flexible 7-game plan that features savings off individual game tickets. Pick 7 plans start as low as $55 per plan. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
Alongside Steve Stone, this is Chuck Swirsky filling in for Ken Harrelson. The Hawk returns to the booth on Sunday. We have a Fox National broadcast tomorrow with Johnny Danks on the mound for the White Sox. Here's Wilson with a fly ball to left. Near the track and a catch by Cabrera. You can follow us on Twitter, by the way, and one of the great features, one of the outstanding features over the last week and a half, the fans have a chance to talk baseball with Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone. Now, you can go to my Twitter handle, Swersk054, that's SWIRSK054, and it's become very popular. The fans love to talk baseball with Steve, no matter if they want to know about the draft, whether they want to know about, what he did on game day as far as his routine, what he eat, what he listened to. And I'm telling the truth, folks, he actually had a playlist that he shared with us.
Yes, a very short one. He didn't live that far from the ballpark.
So we're going to go to that in a moment. I also have a great story I want to share with you, Steve, as Iglesias steps in with a ground ball. Back it up as Beckham over to first. So all these players, they come and go, up from the minors, down from the minors. Oakland recalled the pitcher from Nashville, and I'm thinking, okay. But the pitcher is, how about this, a switch pitcher, Pat Venditti. He's ambidextrous.
We saw him in spring training.
Well, tell me about him. That's a great story.
He throws with both arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hence the ambidextrous aspect of his game. He wears a special glove, and he'll take it off and turn it around when he goes and throws the other way. It's kind of interesting. And I assume if he gets people out, he'll stay around.
That is simply remarkable. Greg Harris of the Expos did it in '95. Davis, and that's going to drop into left center. And that's headed to the wall, and he can run. Here is Davis, and he's headed to third. And we're going to have a play at third base. Slides, and he is safe.
I think Gordon's a little unhappy with himself because he had a shot. The ball actually beat Davis to the bag, and I think Gordon felt that he might have been able to tag him at third. Davis making a gamble. The gamble is you never make the out at third, and Gordon tries to swipe the tag and misses him.
For Davis, that is his fourth triple on the season. He is third in the American League.
For Davis, it's also an excellent slide as he slid around the attempted tag and wound up at third.
Kinsler with 2 outs here. Davis at third. White Sox nursing a 1-0 lead here in the third. Kinsler, that's a shot down the right field line. Davis, by the way, he told reporters the other day they were talking about his speed. And he says, hey, I am the fastest player on this team. And he probably is.
I believe him. I don't want to race him.
Beckham scoops it up over to first, and the Tigers are retired. Quintana and the White Sox with a 1-0 lead here in Chicago. But the fans, these are, by the way, not to predetermine, and Steve hears it just like we get on Twitter. So here's a question, Steve, and they appreciate your work talking about the draft. And here is Sean Killeran wants to know if there will ever be a day where teams are allowed to trade up in the draft like they do in other major sports.
I've been talking about that for a long time, and there are some draft picks traded. But as far as trading a number 1 or 2 pick, I remember talking with Bud Selig about this in the many years that he was the commissioner. And what would have to happen, Chuck, is you would have to have a cap.
And why would you have to have a cap?
Well, because let's say that you give up 2 really good players for the 3rd pick in the draft.
Okay.
That 3rd pick, which has a slot now in what you're going to give them, probably in the range of, let's say, $6 million for the 3rd pick in the draft. Well, all of a sudden, you've given away 2 players and you haven't signed them yet. Now, that $6 million slot, if you don't have a slot, that becomes a $10 million slot because his agent knows that you gave up 2 players and you have to sign him.
I see.
So until they have a situation where you can't go over a certain area, I don't see the picks being traded like that. I think it's a great idea. I believe that teams that are at the bottom can get really good really quick, get a lot of draft choices up, but not doable at this point.
Sanchez rips it to center field, but a catch by Davis. 1 down here. All right, so that's great stuff, Steve. So thank you. Here's another question from Alex Maldonado. Steve, what's the point or benefit of being a switch hitter when you're batting like Melky, where you're struggling from one side of the plate?
There's a lot of switch hitters that have just done away with hitting from that side of the plate if they're really struggling. And I'm not going to tell that Melky's going to do it anytime soon because he's been doing it for a long time. But there are some guys who tried switch hitting, and for one reason or another, it just didn't work out from one side, and they stayed on their best side.
Adam Eaton slaps the ball to Iglesias. Double pump. Fires a rocket over the first. We have 2 down here in the bottom of the 3rd.
I think Melky is really surprised that he's hitting what he's hitting right-handed because he's never struggled like this for so long.
Some questions about J.B. Shuck. We saw him on the road swing. Did a nice job. Wants your thoughts about how the Sox can work him into the lineup more.
It's pretty difficult to do that, and he was on the ball club and assigned to the ball club as a 4th or 5th outfielder, depending. That guy has to hit off the bench. He has to be ready to hit late in the game. He has to be ready to go in and pinch run when need be, and has to be ready to go in defensively. And JB is ready for all of those. But if you're in a part-time role, Chuck, the most important part of a part-time role is acceptance of that role. If you're constantly frustrated that you're not starting or not getting more playing time, you can't excel at the role you have. And that is the key. Acceptance, and then you can excel. And JB has accepted the fact that he is going to be exactly as Robin is using him to this point. And when he gets a chance, he's done a very good job of it.
2-1 pitch to Alexei. I'm walking in near Gate 4 this afternoon, and some fans are there. We're talking Sox baseball, and they said, we enjoyed hearing so much from Steve on the road trip. So, ask him about the toughest guy he ever faced. Because you saw both leagues. It's a cold strike.
Toughest guy for me, and it was surprising that he was right-handed because I got a lot of the right-handers out, but the toughest guy for me was Jim Rice. He was 21 for 39. There wasn't much I could do with him that he didn't hit the daylights out of, and so he was by far the toughest hitter I faced.
Ramirez draws a walk, so Alexei on for the 2nd time of the ball game.
Jose Abreu has one characteristic that holds him in good stead, and one of the reasons why he is a run producer. He's averaging almost 4 3/4 pitches per plate appearance with runners in scoring position over the last month. When you do that, you're picking out the best pitch. You're not swinging at the first strike. You're swinging at the first good pitch you can, and you're going deep in the count. And Jose is one of those guys that's not afraid to go deep in the count, waiting to get his pitch. I remember talking with the Hall of Famer and the wonderful hitter Tony Gwynn, and he told me, I'll take 5. If I foul him off, maybe 6, maybe 7 pitches to get the one pitch where the pitcher makes a mistake and gets too much of the plate. He was not afraid to hit with 2 strikes or deep in the count.
This is the beauty of baseball. When the late, great Tony Gwynn had a chance to talk to Ted Williams about the art of hitting. And I love it when different generations want to tap into the resources of what made this game so great and still makes it great. Those two had a very unique and great relationship, talking about Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams, who is considered by many, Steve, to be the greatest hitter of all time. But you can say that about a lot of, about a cluster of players.
Yes.
You played with Willie Mays, arguably probably, a top 3-4 player ever in the history of this game? Maybe the greatest center fielder ever?
I would think you could put him in that category.
When you were young
does.
players, did you ever have a chance to go out with him and talk to him or pick his brain? Or
He absolutely refused. I asked a number of times. Now, it was a different generation. Look, the young kids didn't really interact with the veterans in that age. And although, remember my manager telling me at the time that it's just 25 men, it's all one team, we should all play together. And then later on, when I tried to react in a certain situation, telling both Mays and Marichal as they were talking about a certain hitter who, when I faced him the day before, was bailing out, I mentioned that, and then the manager pulled me aside and said, when 2 older players are talking, keep your mouth shut. And I said, but you just told us. It's 25 guys. It's one team. We all pull together. He says, I know what I said, but when the 2 older guys are talking, keep your mouth shut.
Wow.
And that's how things work. So, no.
But that doesn't
didn't
work
spend
today,
a lot of time
does it?
together.
I mean, it's a different generation.
It is a much different game and a much different generation, and there's much greater communication today than there's ever been in the game between the authority figures, the coaches and the managers, and the players.
0-1 pitch. Abreu with an RBI double in the first. Give the White Sox a 1-0 lead. We're in the bottom of the third.
And Alexei has done exactly what Robin wanted him to do in the 2 spot, which was get on base. Because his single scored the only run of the ball game, and now he's walked. So Robin made an adjustment. He had to do something.
Another question I received quite a bit and am asked, and maybe, Steve, you would have the answer to this. So many times you see a first baseman in a chat with a base runner, and you see it over and over and over, and you wonder, what are they talking about? What happens when the runner gets on at first, and are they talking about family? Are they talking about how, hey, just had a nice base hit? What goes on there?
I only was on 3 times in my career, so I can't tell you too much. I was just hoping not to get picked off. Most of the first basemen don't want to talk to a pitcher anyway. And there is Cabrera, who'll talk with anybody about anything at any time. He's one of the chattier first basemen around.
Yep.
But he has a true joy for this game and shows it all the time.
Yes, he does. 0-2 pitch. High chopper, Iglesias with the flip. And the White Sox go down here, bottom of the third. 1-0 White Sox here in Chicago.
June 19th when the Sox take on the Rangers. The White Sox are offering specially priced tickets to all Indiana residents, their families, and their friends. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/NWI Sox fans.
Alongside Steve Stone, this is Chuck Swirsky. A pleasure from Chicago. The first of 6 straight home games here. Cabrera at the plate. Steve Stone mentioned he comes to the ballpark every day with a great deal of joy. And to elaborate on that subject, with Quintana dealing, that's a broken bat. Sanchez racing over and makes the catch. Steve, he has played in 157 or more games. Miguel Cabrera has 157 or more games in 9 of the past 11 years. Think about that.
Well, also, with that comes the ability to play with pain. We have seen him when his ankles were so bad, both of them, that he could hardly move to either side, yet he insists on going out there and playing. He knows how much he's always meant to this particular ball club, and so he just doesn't want to sit out unless he's really hurt. If he's missing a game, he is really banged up, and you very rarely see that.
Cespedes at the plate now for the Detroit Tigers. Grounded back to Quintana in the second inning. Tigers have lost 7 in a row. They have not had an 8-game losing streak since 2005. By the time they leave Chicago, hopefully they will have a 10-game losing streak. No disrespect to the Tiger organization, because they've done a great job year after year after year. 4 straight Central Crowns. Big swing and a miss.
Well, eventually this ball club is going to turn it around. You just hope you're not the team playing them when they do. It is David Price going tomorrow against Johnny Danks, and then Alfredo Simon against Jeff Samardzija. Sox starting pitching has been very good. Tigers hitting has not been, and hopefully it stays that way.
1-2 pitch. Is sliced to right, and that's going to be a fair ball in the corner.
Actually, a fan touched it, which is a break, because that would have been a triple. And the question then becomes, and I'm wondering if Brad Osmus would go out and argue the fact that in the umpire's judgment, would he have made third base? I believe he would have, but we're going to hold him at second, and that's a break. Cespedes takes it the opposite way. Corey Blazer on the call. It is fair by a good margin. Now that ball hopped out of play, so the fan didn't lean over and touch it. It would have hopped out of the ballpark anyway.
With 1 out, man on second. He's going to bring on J.D. Martinez, who struck out in the second. It's a Tiger ball club that's gone to the World Series a couple of times in this generation, so to speak, losing to the Giants and Cardinals respectively. Last won the World Series in '84 under Sparky Anderson. Big swing and a miss. That year in '84, they got off to a 35-5 start and never looked back. They led wire to wire and then beat the Padres in the World Series. That was the year many expected a Tiger Cub World Series.
Well, after the Cubs won the first 2 of the best of 5, yes, there's a whole lot of people expected the Cubs to get there. They didn't. But there's a lot of people that will tell you, and this has been the age-old saying in baseball, is that you can't win a pennant in April and May, but you can lose one. The Tigers proved, at least that year, that you can win a pennant in April and May, as they played 500 ball the rest of the way, and they won by somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 games.
A ball and 2 strikes. So, Steve, that brings up an interesting point about, you always hear this cliche, well, the team peaked too early. But, I mean, you're supposed to win ball games. I mean, and I've never understood that. You peak too early. What are you supposed to do?
Baseball team goes out there every day with one goal and one goal only. That's to win that particular day. You'd love to see your hot streak coincide with going down the stretch, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. You'd love to keep everybody healthy enough on your pitching staff, both in the bullpen and the rotation, to make sure that you're getting consistent pitching all the way, but that doesn't happen all the time.
Big pitch coming up here. 3-2 count with 1 out. Quintana. Swing and a miss. He struck out Martinez for the second time. Castellanos at the plate now. He flied to Garcia in the second. We have 2 outs with a runner on second for Detroit. The Tigers, over the last 10 games, are averaging just 2 runs per game, and their team batting average, you ready for this, Steve? How about 208?
That's how you lose 7 in a row.
It has to be more, though, than just, the absence of Victor Martinez.
It's the absence of Victor Martinez, the absence of Alex Avila, the fact that J.D. Martinez is swinging the bat pretty well, but not quite as well as he did last year.
Kinsler's been in a slump.
So a team slump is hard to figure out, and if you could figure it out, then a team wouldn't go into a slump because you would get out of it, and you can't. And usually it's in every facet of the game. If you do score some runs, the pitching falters. You're getting good pitching, you're not scoring runs, and then the defense isn't there. And it hasn't been the case for the Tigers this year defensively. They're at or near the top in the American League.
One and one count, 2 out. That's ripped into center for a base hit. Tigers are going to tie up the ball game at a run apiece. Castellanos comes through with an RBI single to center.
RBI number 24 for Nick. A rolling breaking ball, and this one just kind of hung over the middle of the plate. So Jose made a mistake, and he couldn't get away with it. 2 out base hits. Driving in runs are the way you break out of slumps. And Cespedes, with good speed, scores without a play.
So James McCann with 2 outs here in the top of the 4th inning. Struck out in the second against Quintana.
Got a pretty good first base coach in Omar Vizquel, one of the greatest shortstop to ever play the game.
He's a Hall of Fame player, don't you think, somewhere down the road, Steve?
I would think so. He was one of those guys that happened with Ozzie Smith also. They came into the league, and they were great fielders who couldn't hit very well. And suddenly they started to hit and never stopped hitting. And the fielding stayed almost without peer.
It was a pleasure to see players like Vizquel day after day at his craft and what he was able to do.
He was here, and when he was here, he played a whole lot of third base, and he was brilliant down there. When you've got great hands, you can move just about anywhere in that infield.
Speaking of great hands, what we saw on the road, folks, for those of you who could join us on a number of occasions, Carlos Sanchez at second base.
And Carlos did it on an infield that was not impossible to play, but pretty close to it. That lightning fast infield in Texas, which is really difficult, especially for a visiting player. Prince Fielder with the bases loaded, trying to break it open, and a good play to his left. He gets out of it. And this is just terrific on the part of Ramirez. Staying in, knowing you're going to take the hit, and getting the throw off to complete the double play with Alberto going up the line. A great double play.
And McCann swings and misses. He struck him out the end of the inning. McCann's gone down twice now. We have a 1-1 ball game here in Chicago. We go to the bottom of the 4th.
game changer. You take a look at what he did last night against the Dodgers, and I watched a lot of that game. He went 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 1 earned run without walking anybody, and fanning 5. As you can see, this season, tied for the most wins in the major leagues with 8. He also stopped Jock Peterson. Peterson had homered in 5 straight games, and no rookie Dodger ever had homered in 6. And Michael Wacha just a little too tough for the youngster. Jock Peterson is going to be a star. He's hit 17 home runs this year, and what a player he's become for the Dodgers.
17 mammoth home runs. Here's Garcia to Hopper. Iglesias makes it look so easy at short, and the Sox are retired. The Dodgers with a game-and-a-half lead over San Francisco in the West. The Cardinals by 6.5 over the Pirates in the Central. Mets with a half-game lead on the Nats in the NL East. And in the American League, the Astros with a 5.5-game lead over LA and Texas in the West. And in the East, Yankees by a half game over Tampa. And here with the White Sox in Detroit trailing Minnesota. Twins coming in tonight 32-21.
The Twins trailing 5-0, bottom of the 4th inning, so it's been all Milwaukee. The Brewers came in, just an awful season for them, 18-36. However, they are taking it to the Minnesota boys tonight.
Adam LaRoche flied to center in the first. So on Twitter, we have a lot of questions because they have reached into the depth of your knowledge regarding the draft. Fans want to know who the White Sox are going to pick. If you can give us maybe a couple, 3 names, Steve, with the 8th pick coming up on Monday's draft. And again, we're speculating. I get that.
Well, bear in mind something, that the Sox have the 8th pick in the draft. Now, there's pitchers. We've got a couple of guys from Vanderbilt. We're going to show you as soon as we get done with this at bat. Towering fly ball to left field. And Cespedes makes the play. So Carson Fulmer, who probably won't be there when the Sox pick, is from Vandy, along with Walker Buehler. Dylan Tate, who most likely won't be there. John Harris probably will be there from Missouri State. Tyler Jay will not be there. He's from Illinois. A lot of speculation on him being able to help a major league team this year out of the bullpen, a lot like Chris Sale did. So I don't anticipate him there at 8. Now, that's assuming that they go after a pitcher. We're going to talk about some infielders and outfielders who will be there, but there's one guy that I've got my eye on, and again, I don't know if he'll be there, and I don't know if the Sox would be interested, but the toughest position to fill in all of baseball has been and continues to be behind the plate.
1-2 pitch just an out on Tyler Jay from Illinois. He is from Lamont, and he could, according to John Heyman, as we're going to pick it up in a moment, and we're going to be back. We're going to talk about the draft. This is all good stuff, folks. 1-1 ball game here in Chicago. 1-1 ball game, top of the fifth here. Just to follow up on what we were talking about with Tyler J., the young man from Illinois, highly touted. John Heyman, who you know, Steve, a highly regarded writer for CBS Sports, knows baseball as well. Quintana deals. He believes that there is a chance that Tyler J. could go number 1 overall.
There's no bona fide number 1 this year. The Arizona Diamondbacks have the pick. They have a lot of different needs. And unlike other years where you can say this is for sure number 1, not this year. So an easy ground ball picked by Adam LaRoche. And let's take a look at some of the position players. A lot of people feel the best player in the draft is Dansby Swanson out of Vanderbilt also. There's Alex Bregman out of LSU, a shortstop. Brendan Rodgers, another top-level shortstop. Then Mike Cameron's son, Daz, an outfielder. Andrew Benintendi, who's moving up the draft boards. Ian Happ. A catcher, Chris Betts, but the catcher that I like, Tyler Stevenson, 6'4", 210, a high school catcher, but a big, strong guy with good defensive skills.
That ball is well hit. That's going to drop in for a base hit to left field. Iglesias on at first.
I don't know if he'll be there when the Sox pick. I don't know if the Sox are going to go after a right-handed pitcher, which they would like to eventually round out their rotation, but somebody's going to get a pretty good one, even though they're going to put a few years into development with Stevenson. And so we'll have to see where he falls, but again, nobody really knows. They do know that Houston has both the 2nd and the 5th pick.
So Davis, who tripled in the 3rd at the plate, his 3rd plate appearance tonight in a 1-1 ball game of the 5th.
Time now for our AT&T Uverse Multiview, and it is the aforementioned triple, and then the really good slide on the back end as he eludes the tag by Gordon Beckham. Adam Eaton does a nice job of getting the throw back in. Good solid relay, but he dives around the tag and winds up at third base.
You know, Steve, I'll tell you, I am feeling so old. You mentioned that Mike Cameron's son, Daz, is going to be a first-round pick, projected by many to be a future Major League ball player. He's got some great skill sets. I'm going to give you a list of some other players' sons that are available. Davis, ground ball. Let's see if the Sox can turn 2. And they do. And we're going to hold that train of thought. Beautifully done. 4-6-3. White Sox get it done. We'll return in a moment from Chicago. And welcome back. Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone, 1-5-0 for the Tigers. 1 run, 2 hits, no errors for the White Sox. Beckham facing Ryan. Well, again, a lot of anticipation, excitement for these young players. We talked about Tyler J. from Lamont, from the University of Illinois. You know, Steve, his favorite player? You know who his favorite player is?
I couldn't possibly tell you.
Derek Rose of the Bulls.
Pretty good favorite player, especially if you play basketball.
Popped up on the right side. Kinsler makes the call and the grab. So, Steve, here is a list of players, and this is why I'm feeling really old. You mentioned Mike Cameron. Other players and their sons are eligible to be drafted. Kirk Gibson, Charlie Hayes, Mike Matheny, the manager of the Cardinals, Jamie Moyer's son. He was just pitching in the big leagues a few years ago.
Yeah, but he was 90.
Mariano Rivera's son is available. There's a ground ball. Iglesias covers a lot of ground.
Not only can he cover the ground, but he gets rid of the ball so quickly. It's the most unusual shortstop throw. He has the ability to throw over the top, but more times than not, he doesn't have to. You can see how quick his hands are as he makes his own hop by smothering a short hop. Flip from the side, and he gets it there in time. And they're a much better team when he plays short. They missed him last year.
Well, this has been a quick inning thus far with 2 outs here. Steve, are you a proponent of maybe taking some pitches, or if you get the pitch, go ahead and swing?
For most hitters, I think when you get the pitch you're looking for, you go and take a good rip at it. There's not a lot of guys that can work counts and hit down in the count and then trust that you're going to be able to hit with 2 strikes. Now, last time up, Carlos hit the daylights out of one, but unfortunately was right at Davis. And he believes, and justifiably so because he's hit in every league he's ever been in, he believes that he is going to hit. He thinks that the hits are coming. He has supreme confidence that he's going to find a lot of holes. And we're hoping he does because he's been a master with the glove.
Cabrera bobbles it, but runs to the bag just in time to retire Sanchez. 1-2-3 for the White Sox. Fast-paced, moving ball game here in Chicago. We go to the 6th. 1-1 with the White Sox and Tigers.
At U.S. Cellular Field. Join the White Sox in their effort to raise awareness of stroke warning signs and the importance of acting FAST. That stands for face, arm, speech, and time. Those are the warning signs of a stroke. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/strikeoutstroke.
We go to the 6th after Ryan on the mound for Detroit in the 5th had an 8-pitch inning.
He's getting the ball over. They're both working quickly. It's a good battle of young left-hand pitchers. Ryan facing the Sox for the second time. They haven't done much with him either time. And Jose seemingly at the top of his game to this point.
Fly ball center field, and it's going to drop in for a base hit.
After grounding out a couple of times, Kinsler went back to what he does best. Even though he didn't hit it hard, he did go after the first pitch. It's a first ball fastball. He gets it off the end of the bat, seemingly looking for the ball middle in that he can pull. He drops it into center field, and so the go-ahead run's aboard, leading off the inning.
That's going to bring on Cabrera.
And Kinsler 6 for 6 in stolen bases.
Cabrera 0 for 2 in the ball game.
This Detroit team has swiped 45 bases. They've been caught 21 times, which is a high number. Sox, by comparison, 18 stolen bases. They've been caught 14 times.
Cabrera having another all-star type season. He is a 9-time all-star. We'll see him in Cincinnati. Second in the league in batting, 6th in the league in base hits, 7th in the league in RBIs, number 1 in slugging percentage. Tigers reworked his deal in March of 2014. 10 years, $292 million deal, and his total earnings when he's done playing will reach $415 million.
And as tough as it is to believe, because there's a lot of people believe that nobody is worth that, he will have earned every dollar of it, because every day he leaves everything he has out on the field. Every day you can anticipate that he's going to give you everything he's got. And in situations where the game is on the line, you wouldn't want anybody else up but Miguel Cabrera.
2-2. So, Steve, he was traded to Detroit in 2008 from Florida. Why was he dealt?
One of the reasons why he was dealt was, along with him, if you'll look a little further, you'll see the name Dontrell Willis. They wanted to get rid of that money, and Dontrell was part of the price. If they got Cabrera, Dontrell came with him.
Willis is now a broadcaster, I believe, for Fox.
Here's an opportunity for a good move to first base, because as good as Cabrera is, he does ground into a lot of double plays. He's grounded into 8 of them. And Kinsler runs pretty well. So if Jose is holding a good move back, this is a good time to use it at first.
3 balls, 2 strikes. No one out here in the top of the 6th. And they got him in a rundown. LaRoche, the toss. Kinsler is out.
He used his best move, and he got Kinsler leaning the wrong way. He's absolutely going, and then it's fairly easy after that. That's what you want. You want a 1-throw rundown, and you want to make sure that you get him running right at, in this case, Sanchez, who does the honors by tagging him out. Goes 1-3-4.
3-2 pitch with an out. And Cabrera didn't know the strike ball count. And he looks over his shoulder, and he said, yeah, Laz Diaz said you can go to first. You know, Steve, you've been talking about that, though, rundown plays. We had a few on the road trip that the White Sox probably didn't handle it correctly.
Well, what I'd like to see more of, and we didn't see it there, is Cabrera goes, oh, that's right, you do get only 4 in this league.
I know he's that good.
But what I'd like to see a lot of times is when you get a runner hung up and you're on the other side of the field, I don't think that, it's not only our ball club, it's all ball clubs, I don't think that the fielder will run at the base runner long enough to make him commit. A lot of times they get rid of the baseball, and then you find 3 or 4 tosses when you don't really need them.
Cespedes is 2 for 2. Singled in the 2nd, doubled in the 4th, scored a run. 1-1 ball game.
And one of the factors also, Chuck, is when you're running at a base runner, you want to make him commit, and you'd like to get him commit committed to the bag that he came from, not where he's going.
Just simple baseball fundamentals.
If you can execute, you're going to win a lot more games.
Just saw the graphic on the numbers for the Tigers slugger. With Quintana on the mound at a 1-1 ball game, the White Sox with only 2 hits. Here's the pitch.
It's infield getting better and better in turning double plays. When they doubled Rajay Davis, he'd only grounded into 2 all year. And he was doubled 4-6-3. So between Sanchez and Ramirez, they both get rid of the ball quickly. They both have strong arms. And they're getting it done, especially lately.
2-2. This pitch number 70 coming up for Quintana. You have Cabrera, who walked. He's at first. Kinsler got picked off for the only out of the inning here. Cespedes at the plate. 2-2 the count. And the first of 3 here over the weekend. Ground ball to Roach. And he tags out Cabrera, and that's going to be a double play. Nicely done by the White Sox. We go to the bottom of the 6th here in Chicago, 1-1.
Swirsky, this is the 12th game that Chuck and I have worked together. He's pinch hitting for Hawk Harrelson, and at the risk of embarrassing him, I want to tell you out there that he's done just a terrific job. He's gotten better and better with each and every game. I've really enjoyed it. Going to be nice to have Hawk back, and he's going to be excited to be back on Sunday. But in his place, Chuck Swirsky has done just an outstanding job. He's as well prepared as any broadcaster I've ever seen, does more homework than anybody I've ever seen, gets here earlier than most of the players, and really has done a terrific job. So, Chuck, thank you. We
Steve,
appreciate everything you've done.
Awesome, and you know that. I'll tell you, so let me just say this, folks, for the viewership. I hope, and I know you appreciate, and I'm not patronizing Steve, but he is unbelievable. I've worked with a lot of people. I work with Bill Wennington on the Bulls radio side, who is fabulous. Steve Stone is the best in Major League Baseball, and I mean that, Steve. You've been great. And also, Steve, you know what, since I have this platform, our production people in the truck are the best around as well.
They also get here earlier than everyone. They have to set up. They have to tear down. They've done an exceptional job, and they make our job a lot easier than it can be. They make us look good, which sometimes is very difficult. But this is just the start. There's a long way to go in this season. And the one thing that you know from working the Bulls as long as you have, Chuck, the broadcasters never sound better than when the team is playing well.
Correct.
So we have to hope that the Sox start to put something together.
Eaton with the chopper, Iglesias, and the flip, and he's out. Oh, that was close.
Iglesias knew he didn't have time to plant and throw, so he had to pretty much do it on the run. The transfer, the flip from the side, and then the pick at first base by Cabrera. Very good on both ends. And first baseman will tell you that the way they like to pick short hops is backhanded. And that's what Cabrera does. I talked with Paul Konerko about that very thing. He said, and Paul was as good as anybody at picking short hops, he said backhanded is the easiest way to do it. Cabrera did it that way. Paulie did it his whole career that way. And that was well done between shortstop and first baseman.
Meantime, here in the sixth, we have a pitcher's duel. Sox with 6 hits, the White Sox with only 2. So the Tigers with 6 hits against the White Sox in a 1-1 ball game. Well, one thing I've learned over the last couple of weeks watching the White Sox, Steve, and appreciating the craft. As a baseball fan, you know, I'm sitting in the stands as a fan with a beverage and a hot dog. But to see the skill set, you reach the major leagues at this level. I mean, you won 25 balls, 25. I mean, think of this. Bob Welch also won 25 in this generation, correct?
He won 27 in 1990.
All right, and Steve Carlton won 27 back in, what, 72, around that period?
72. Guidry was 25-3 in 78.
Wow.
Fergie won 25 games in the mid-70s.
And speaking of winning ball games, Denny McLean won 31 in 68, that magical year for the Tigers.
Well, that you won't see again because guys just aren't going to get
well, that
close
was
to
my
that
point.
many
Do you
starts.
think anyone will even come close? You were close. Right there in the liner to third, Wilson.
No, I don't think they'll come close again because I don't think they'll be allowed to because they're obviously limiting the innings. And the pitchers that won a whole lot of games usually won them because they got anywhere from 35 to 40 starts. That means they were usually pitching in a 4-man rotation. These days, the pitchers are pitching in a 5-man rotation. If you get 32 to 34 starts, you're doing it. So to win 30 of those games, no, that's not going to happen. But I will say one thing. When you said sitting in the stands with a hot dog, the only thing you eat is a salad. So you don't sit in the stands with a hot dog. You sit in the stands with roughage.
Iglesias again. And the White Sox go down 1-2-3. Ryan is in a groove for Detroit. We go the 7th here in Chicago, 1-1 ball game. Chicago. Fire trying to kick their way back into the playoff position against Orlando City. Coverage begins at 7 on Comcast Sportsnet. Now that's what I call enjoyment at the old ballpark. You got the ice cream helmet, and that's a big helmet.
And that's what I've seen you eat. I've seen you eat ice cream at every ballpark we've been at.
Yes.
So I can see you with those 3 kids enjoying themselves, you right in the middle of them. They're, of course, taller than you, but you can still get to the ice cream.
Going to right field. That's going to fold in for a base hit. That's J.D. Martinez with a leadoff here in the 7th. I do like the ice cream. I like the vanilla ice cream with a little caramel sauce or maybe some pecans. It's all good.
That's the first time that Martinez has made contact, and he dumped it into right center field. So now we have the man who driven in the only run for the Tigers tonight.
Nick Castellanos.
And it is Italian Heritage Night. That looks like half pepperoni and half mustard pizza.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's you.
Yeah, a little beggar's pizza. One of our great sponsors on White Sox baseball. We have a final tonight, Steve, a team we're going to see on Monday. You and Hawk will be calling the game with the Astros and Blue Jays. A final from Toronto, 6-2 Jays. Red Sox have just defeated the Oakland Athletics, who swept these Tigers over the past 3 games. After the owner of the Red Sox gave the GM and the manager a vote of confidence. And today in the paper in Detroit, Dave Dombrowski, the general manager of the Tigers, said, hey, people need to get off the back of Brad Ausmus.
Brad Ausmus is going to be a real good manager. He's only in his 2nd year. Last year, he won the division. He can't play injured players, and managers just get better like players. It's very difficult in the first year for a manager to understand exactly what's going on. And I asked Brad, what's the difference between last year's Ausmus and this year's Ausmus? He said very simply, knowing the players a lot better.
Well, when you hear that, Steve, knowing the players better.
Anybody can know what a player can do. I mean, you can watch and you can see what a player can do. A guy can hit a home run, you can see that. Guys throw very hard, you can see that. But it's getting to know the players, Chuck, and learning what they can't do. That's of critical importance. The good managers will find out what each and every player can't do, and then you don't ask him to do it. If you have a guy, despite working with him, who just can't bunt, you can't send him up there to bunt. If he can't bunt, he won't get it down. You put him in a position to be successful. You put him in a position so that he can help the ball club, and then he will help the ball club. And that's what managers learn about their team as they get to know the players better.
3-1 the count. With nobody out here, Martinez on at first for Detroit. Yeah, I think relationships are so important, not only baseball and all the sports, but just if you're working in a factory, working in the office, whatever the case may be. Steve, you said so often that it helps and it's very therapeutic for an employee to know they've got an open door policy with the boss. And he walked them Tigers down business. Runners at first and second, Steve, with nobody out here in the 7th.
Well, unfortunately, a bad time to throw one up and away. Just the 2nd walk. First coming last inning. And now with McCann up, you would figure Ausmus would like to use a sacrifice. McCann has 2 of them. And surprisingly, it ties for number 1 on the ball club. White Sox fans, join us on Friday, June 19th for Mullet Night, presented by Great Clips. Mullet Night features haircuts and mullet wigs for purchase. They all support Ronald McDonald House Charities and a post-game fireworks show. So remember, Great Clips. It's going to be great. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/group.
24,761 here in the first of 3 with the White Sox and Tigers. We're going to be in Detroit in 3 weeks. Steve and the Hawk will be. Here's McCann with a bunt. This is a good one. Beckham charges in, fires over to first, and the runners advance.
That's the third sacrifice of the year for McCann, and that was a perfect bunt. You want to make sure the third baseman has to field it. And you see Alexi going to second, so there's a lot of variations to a play they call the wheel play. One of them is sliding the shortstop to third base. But the Sox elect not to do that. Consequently, Gordon has just one play, that throwing to first.
That's going to bring on Josh Wilson. Wilson is 0 for 2. You've got Martinez now at third. Castellanos at second with one out in the 1-1 ball game.
Hernan Perez was claimed off waivers by Milwaukee on June 2nd, so they had to fill the void in the infield, and it was Josh Wilson.
34 years young. This is his 10th Major League Baseball team. The important thing, he can still put on an MLB jersey. And that's going to drop in for a base hit. Tigers take the lead. 1 run is in. 2 runs are in. Josh Wilson delivers with a 2-run single.
First 2 runs batted in for Wilson in a Tiger uniform. He gets jammed. This ball inside. It's actually a pretty good pitch. A fastball inside, but Wilson able to just drop it over a drawn-in infield in front of Adam Eaton. And the single and the walk. Come back to haunt Jose.
And for Detroit, their 8th hit on the night. 3-1, 3-8-0 for the Tigers, 1-2-0 for the White Sox. Iglesias stepping in now against Quintana. This kid stays healthy, Steve, and as you mentioned, last year missed it with shin injuries, but he has a chance to be around a long, long time.
Surprising thing is that he's hitting the baseball, because he came over with a reputation as an outstanding fielder who was challenged offensively. That hasn't turned out to be the case, as the pitch out and nothing doing.
Two years ago, he led the American League with 35 infield hits. We have a couple of balls and a strike with 1 out here. The Tigers have taken a lead here in the 7th, scoring twice. Meantime, Kyle Ryan has been fabulous for Detroit.
Just another in a long line of soft-tossing left-handers that have handcuffed the Sox lineup. And it's not only this year or last year or the year before. It's been going on for some time.
Why is that? How do you explain it?
Again, if you could explain it, it wouldn't happen. But it does happen. One of the reasons is, I believe, although you'd never know it by this season, is this team has always hit a lot of home runs, and home run hitters prefer fastballs. And soft-tossing left-handers keep a lot of hitters out on the front foot.
Well, the Tigers tried to end a 7-game slide. They were swept by the Angels, and after the series, Brad Ausmus said, quote, "It was a slap in the face." Then they got swept by Oakland. And the other day he said it was a punch in the gut.
I'd hate to think what the next would be if they lose this one.
Well, let's hope he comes up with a new quote. But the White Sox are going to have to find the solution to put some hits on the board against Ryan.
Zach Putnam had some problems with his thumb, was unavailable for a couple of games in Texas, but obviously feeling a whole lot better and getting loosened up as quickly as he can. Tigers will get a lift because Justin Verlander is going to make his last rehab start for AAA Toledo tomorrow, and then next week slated to join the team.
He's on a pitch count tomorrow. Want him to go 85-90. That ball slapped to right. And the Tigers now with runners at first and second.
That ball was up and out of the strike zone, and Iglesias went upstairs and took it through the right side. Hard to hit that ball on the ground, but he's able to get on top of it, so it'll bring Don Cooper out from the dugout to have a word with Jose Quintana.
Yeah, the bottom of the order, the 8th and 9th hitters doing damage against the White Sox here in the 7th, Stephen.
They've decided going to right field was the key against the left-hander. Hey, White Sox fans, next time you're looking for great seats, get the StubHub, where there are no surprise fees at checkout. That's right, StubHub. The price you see is the price you pay. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of ChicagoWhiteSox.com.
So the Tigers with runners at first and second. That's going to bring out Rajai Davis. Davis tripled in the third, and he's 1 for 3.
Six and a third, 9 hits, the 3 earned runs, 2 of them this inning, and 3 of those hits coming, along with a walk and a sacrifice, have given the Tigers the lead.
We have just 1 out here. Davis squares around the bunt, drops it down, and it is foul.
See how quickly Gordon took that baseball and touched it in foul territory? He realizes, and as a home team, you know which way it's going to roll down the line. He realizes that more times than not, that ball hugs the line and stays fair. As soon as it got into foul territory, Gordon grabbed it. And Davis with a good idea. But on the left side of the line.
2 on, 1 out. 3-1 Detroit. Ground ball. Sanchez, 4, 6. Safe at first. But Davis has some big-time wheels.
If that ball was hit a touch harder, he'd have grounded into double plays 2 times in a row. They got him 4-6-3 in the 5th, and this was very close to 4-6-3. Ball takes a high hop. Lexi comes across, and looks like he might have beaten it. The question now is just exactly what they're appealing, because they could appeal the play at second base or the play at first. It looked like he beat it by an eyelash.
That's close, real close.
There has to be convincing proof.
I'm not sure there is convincing proof. That's one of those bang-bang plays. That's the beauty, however, of replay.
Look at it from this angle, slow it down. Boy, that's really hard to tell even from that angle. It's in the glove. You have to believe, to overturn it, that he didn't hit the bag quite yet.
See, we talked about the ability to bunt and how a fielder can play it. Roger Bossard, who is an icon here, not only in Chicago but throughout baseball, do the players come to him and say, hey, this is how I want to see the infield manicured? Or do they have a meeting? Do they have some type of conversation during the course of the season?
I don't think so. I think Roger does the field and does it better than anybody in the business. And then it's up to the fielders to understand how the field is manicured. So the call stands, runners at the corners, but 2 outs.
Kinsler at the plate for the Tigers. 3-9-0 for Detroit, 1-2-0 for the White Sox.
And the question here for Tyler Flowers and for Mark Parent, who's giving him the signs, what are they going to do when Davis takes off?
Davis is fourth in the American League in stolen bases with 12.
Kinsler with a long look down to Dave Clark, the third base coach.
Big cut.
And there's a look at Dave. Became a very good pinch hitter late in his career.
Former Bucco, former Cub.
He was that.
A ball and a strike with 2 outs. Johnny Danks on the mound tomorrow for the White Sox. It'll be on Fox Sports. Danks coming off a 10-hit shutout, 6-0 over the Astros. Two one, 2 out. Toss back to first. That Danks ball game, Steve, that was the first double-digit hit allowed, shutout, complete game since Carlos Silva of Minnesota in 2005. I mean, how often do you see a shutout giving up double-digit hits and you go the distance? Not often.
No, back in 2005.
Yeah. Here's a fly ball to left. Cabrera under it, and he makes the catch. But the Tigers do some damage here in the 7th, scoring twice. 3-1 Detroit. We'll return in a moment right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Stanley Cup final coverage in town starting at 5:30. The Hawks pregame live and put to CSN Plus after Game 2 for locker room reaction, highlights, and more. Blackhawks post-game live Stanley Cup final Game 2 coverage starts 5:30 on CSN Chicago.
And remember, on Monday, if you don't have tickets to the game, and there's a lot of folks that don't, you can come to the ballpark, watch the game here, because every other television in this ballpark is going to be on the Hawks game. You're going to get a chance to see the game on television as well as see the game on the field. So come to the ballpark if you don't have seats to the Hawks game. Hopefully a game that puts the Hawks up 3-0.
You're right. They've got a game, of course, tomorrow night for Game 2, as Steve mentioned. And the Blackhawks, if they win the Stanley Cup, Steve, I think you could say that's a dynasty. You win 3 times. in that span of years, with Garcia stepping in the 7th with the White Sox trailing 3-1.
I would say you would be on safe ground to call them a dynasty. They sure are entertaining.
Now, Steve, I know you're a walking encyclopedia on this sport, and you are. Is the last baseball team, not saying the Blackhawks did this because they did not, the last team in baseball to win 3 straight world championships, that was Oakland in the mid-70s?
72 to 74.
They beat the Reds in 72, the Mets in 73, and they beat the Dodgers in 74.
In between, they won 5 straight league championships.
High fly ball, right field. It's got a chance. It is out of here. Garcia with a solo blast to right.
Just the 3rd hit of the ball game, a towering fly ball that kept on going into the Tiger bullpen, the 5th of the year for Avi. He's driven his 19th run, and here's our Ford home run replay. This is a changeup, and Ryan gets it up in the air. And with that home run, there'll be another generous donation from the Alex Snellius family in loving memory of Ursula.
So we have a 3-2 ball game. Up high and tight on LaRoche. So Garcia nails a blast to right field against his former ball club.
There is no doubt that Avisail Garcia is going to hit a lot of home runs. As he gets to learn how pitchers are going to work him, he's big enough, he's strong enough. He can take it the opposite way, as you just saw. Just a question of him maturing as a hitter. And we're going to see it a little bit more each and every day.
Big swing by LaRoche. Fly to center in the 1st, fly to left in the 4th. That ball was well hit into left center field, and it is caught by the left fielder. Nice play, Cespedes.
Sox fans, celebrate a special birthday or anniversary or even a business function in a Diamond Suite at White Sox game. Diamond Suites can accommodate groups from 10 to 100. Single game packages include great food menus as well as beverages and parking passes. To purchase, visit whitesox.com/group.
Melky squares around a bunt, takes a strike. You know, Steve, you look at the coverage here, and you called it early in this ball game, with the Tigers having center and left with speed. That's impressive.
Good speed out there and great hands and speed at shortstop. With a left-hand pitcher on the mound, you had to know that Iglesias was going to get a lot of chances. In left field, Cespedes. Center field, you saw Davis. And they certainly can go get him. In fact, they got 2 center fielders in Anthony Gose and Rajay Davis that are as good as any around.
Cabrera strikes out for the 2nd time of the ball game, and he's 0 for 3. Is this Detroit team, Steve, a better defensive ball club this year than they were a year ago?
Yes, because of Iglesias at shortstop every day. Plus, they made a trade and they got Anthony Gose, which gives them another center fielder. They also put Cespedes in left field. And so, yes, they're considerably better than they were last year. As you look at some pretty impressive numbers from Kyle Ryan. I believe, however, he is out there on a string. Another base hit. There's a very good chance that they'll go to the pen.
Routine ground ball. Kinsler collects and throws over to Cabrera, and that will end the inning. But the White Sox get a run on the board. Garcia goes yard to right. 3-2 Tigers. We go to the 8th here in Chicago. Chicago, our Sox square off with the AL West Division leading Astros. Join us for the first pitch at 7 on Comcast Sportsnet. Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. The Hawk will return on Sunday, a Fox TV game tomorrow. But, Steve, we got a 3-2 ball game.
And we've got Zach Putnam coming into that game on for the 19th time. He's 1-1, his ERA. 4.32. 23 strikeouts, just 8 walks in 16 2/3. So he's got to hold him right there. It is a one-run game. And he's got to face the heart of the order. Cabrera, Cespedes, and Martinez, all right-hand hitters.
Here in the 8th inning, Putnam on for Quintana.
Cabrera just 1 for 5 against Zach Putnam.
Quintana, Steve, went the first 7, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 9 hits, struck out 4, walked 2. Your thoughts on his performance tonight?
I thought it was like a whole lot of his performances in that he held a pretty good hitting team who hasn't been hitting lately to just the 3 runs, 2 of them given up in the 7th. His team scored him 2, and he'll leave once again with the only decision that he can get, a loss. He's hoping for another no decision. He is the king of the no decisions over the last 2.5 years. 12 runs scored in Quintana's last 8 starts. So when you look at that record and you just shake your head, it's 2-6. You can see why. You're not going to win many games getting less than 2 runs a game.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Nice job by Putnam from the University of Michigan, by the way. Loves his Wolverines.
This one just drops out of sight. Nice block by Tyler Flowers, and Cabrera a little surprised at himself for swinging at that, but can't really avoid the tag.
Talked about the fact that a Big Ten player in Tyler J may go number 1 again with a handful of other prospects in Monday's draft. Putnam played in Ann Arbor for the Wolverines under Rich Maloney. Very, very good college baseball coach. Now on top of that, Steve, Baseball America says 15 Big Ten players are highly thought of in the upcoming draft.
Big Ten for baseball this year has been awfully good is Zach Duke warming in the pen.
Cespedes is 2 for 3, singled in the second, doubled in the fourth, grounded into a double play in the sixth, and he has scored a run.
Jabba Chamberlain loosening in the pen.
Cespedes has won the home run derby at the All-Star break back-to-back years. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Nice job by Putman.
This one just disappears. And once again, Tyler Flowers able to smother it. So 2 up, 2 strikeouts.
He's going to bring on the designated hitter, Nick Castellanos. Or rather, J.D. Martinez, I beg your pardon. Martinez 1 for 3, struck out in the second and fourth, singled in the seventh, and scored a run. One-0 count, 2 outs.
Everything is moving tonight for Zach, and so far these Tiger hitters have been not only out on the front foot, but haven't even been close to anything down.
No, he's come on and been terrific. 3-2 ball game here in the top of the eighth. The ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs for J.D. Martinez. 2-2. Both teams trailing Minnesota in the Central. Talking about the Sox and the Tigers. Minnesota in a 5-5 ball game with Milwaukee in the eighth. Putman strikes out the side. Beautiful job. Will return bottom of the eighth. Coming up 3-2 Detroit.
Eighth inning, and there's a new Tiger pitcher, and it's Jabba Chamberlain. Jabba on for the 21st time. He's 0-1, but his ERA a minuscule 1.17. He has given up 18 hits in 15 innings, so he's been able to get hit. He just doesn't give up too many runs.
We got J.B. Shuck now coming in for Flowers. Here in the bottom of the eighth, White Sox trailing 3-2. Shuck went 6 for 22 on the trip. Overall on the year, no homers, 5 RBIs, batting .259.
Yeah, base percentage pretty respectable, .328. JB 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter. But lifetime 2 for 5 against Jabba Chamberlain.
How about the job turned in by Kyle Ryan tonight, Steve Stone?
Did a terrific job in 7 innings, gave up the 2 runs on just 3 hits. He was in control. He gave up a couple of runs in the first inning. Things looked pretty bright at that point, but then he shut the door and didn't give up another hit until Avi led off with a home run.
It's a bouncing ball right up the middle for a base hit, so Shuck delivers.
Second pinch hit of the year, but 3rd hit lifetime against Jabba Chamberlain. This one bouncing by Kinsler. And the tying run's aboard.
Yeah. For Carlos Sanchez. Sanchez 0 for 2. Flied out to center in the 3rd, grounded out to first in the 5th.
McCann is pretty tough to run against. He's got a very strong arm. It wasn't exactly a pitch out, but close to it. And pitchers are taught when you see a hitter square around, throw a high fastball. You give the hitter every opportunity to pop it up.
Let's see if Carlos can execute here. On a 1-0 count. Shuck on at first.
JB getting a very good lead. Carlos has 1 sacrifice this year. In stolen bases, 4 of 5 is pretty good.
Sanchez gets it down. Beautiful bunt. Sanchez, he did his job, Steve.
Everybody did their job. Carlos lays it down perfectly. McCann behind the plate goes to a vacated third base to make sure that Shuck can't go there. And the play is a good, solid play. You see McCann pointing to first base, then he hustles to third base, which is what he's supposed to do. Wilson throws him out at first, and so the tying run's at second base. And that's going to be it for Jabba Chamberlain. So he's going to leave the tying run at second base, and as he walks out, we'll step out and be back after these messages. Chicago Sports Depot features the latest in Sox apparel and souvenirs. Stop by the Chicago Sports Depot located at Gate 5 to get your authentic on-field merchandise and support your favorite hometown teams. Call 312-674-5SOX for more information.
Adam Eaton at the plate, 0 for 3, grounded to short in the third and 6, struck out in the first.
Blaine Hardy coming on. And he's our Honda call to the pen. He pitched in yesterday's ball game. He's 2-0, the ERA 2.78, on for the 23rd time. And he's been very good. You see left-handers hitting just 195 against him.
Eaton with a ground ball to Kinsler. Quick release. And the runner, Chuck, moves to third. So we have 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th. Just going to bring on Alexei Ramirez, who's 1 for 2.
Hardy was called up when closer Joe Nathan was put on the disabled list. And he's done a real good job out of the pen. Soria and Wilson. Soria, their closer. And the young fans wanting to see that tying run pushed across.
Well, we have 2 outs with Chuck on third for the White Sox, who trail 3-2. The Sox have busted up only 4 hits, and we're going to have a meeting on the mound. Brad Ausmus making that slow walk to the hill.
No, this is no meeting. This is bye-bye Blaine. And then we'll figure out who's going to throw to Ramirez. Possibly Abreu and Garcia, all right-handed. Laz Diaz coming out to break this up. And I think he mouthed Soria, but we'll see how good the lip reading is. That's exactly who's coming in the game. So Hardy is gone, Soria is coming on, and we'll step out. I'll be back after these messages. Comes on at 2-0, his ERA 1.21, on for the 24th time. He's been successful 15 of 16 save opportunities. He was a big-time closer, and then when the Tigers got him, Nathan was still healthy. They got him as an insurance policy in case anything happened to Joe, and it did. So Soria has come on and done a terrific job for them. And what Brad Ausmus is asking is for a 4-out save.
All right, so it's Soria on the mound for Detroit against Ramirez with Chuck on third. We have 2 outs here in the 8th. First pitch swinging by Alexei.
Soria's got very good stuff, and he's always had great control. That's really been his strong point because his stuff has never been overpowering. He's got a good curveball. He's never had one of those fastballs that is eye-popping, but he's walked just 4 in 22 1/3 innings while fanning 18.
We welcome our viewers who just tuned in after the Cubs lost to the Nationals tonight, 7-5. Alongside Steve Stone, this is Chuck Swirsky. 3-2 Tigers. But the White Sox are battling here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th with J.B. Shuck. He's on third base. Ramirez at the plate facing Soria on an 0-2 pitch.
That time he floated that curveball over Ramirez's head. You're just not going to get knocked down at 69 miles an hour and have any effect. So on a cool night at 57 degrees, he lost the grip.
Here's the pitch. Swung on, ground ball to Iglesias. Over to first. And the inning is retired. So Soria gets the job done. We go to the 9th. Tigers 3, White Sox 2 on Comcast Sportsnet.
Brought to you by Miller Lite, and here is our Miller moment. And so far, it's the game decider as Josh Wilson comes up, dumps the ball into right center field. It drove home 2 runs. At the time, it made it a 3-1 game. Avisail Garcia hit a home run to make it 3-2, and that's where we stand. So Giovanni Soto comes in the game behind the plate, and David Robertson checks in on the hill. David hasn't had an opportunity to throw very much, and you have to give your closers an inning of work every now and then so they can get the ball over the plate in a save situation. On for the 22nd time. He's 4-1, the ERA, 2.49. Most of that ERA accumulated in Toronto, unfortunately, as he had some trouble with Josh Donaldson a couple of games.
So that's going to bring out the designated hitter, Nick Castellanos, who's 1 for 2, singled in the 4th, walked in the 6th. He scored a run and drove in a run. 3-2 Tigers here in the 9th. Robertson with the pitch. Cold strike. Looking ahead to the 9th inning for the White Sox, Abreu, Garcia, and LaRoche. White Sox in the first of 6 straight games here. Finally home after going 5-6 on the road.
A 4-city road trip, which you just don't see a whole lot of these days, but necessitated by the 2 games canceled in Baltimore and the make-up doubleheader on an off day.
Swing and a miss. He struck it out. Nice job for Robertson coming in. Gets the DH.
Good late movement on a fastball. He kept it down. And that's 4 strikeouts in a row. Putnam came in for 1 inning and fanned the side. And Robertson with a strikeout of Castellanos.
McCann is 0 for 2. Struck out twice, once in the second, another time in the fourth. He had a sac bunt in the 7th. We have 1 out here, top of the 9th. In a 3-2 Tiger lead. Detroit trying to snap a 7-game losing streak. .6:15, first pitch tomorrow night. Johnny Dank's on the mound for the White Sox Sunday afternoon, of course, right back here as well. Samardzija will go for the Sox. 0-1 pitch with an out.
That was a bit of a strange swing. That was one of those that, let me see, should I swing? Well, it's going to be a strike, but it is kind of late, so, okay. I guess I'll swing.
Yeah.
Because I can't stop it at that point.
No.
Fortunately, he didn't swing at that because that one got away to the screen.
A ball, 2 strikes, 1 out for James McCann. Detroit got 2 in the 7th. White Sox responded with 1 in the bottom of that frame. Two-two pitch. Pulled, strike 3.
We're going to take a look at Dan Dickerson, who is the radio voice of the Tigers. He's been in the booth for 16 years. Talking to him before the game, and he told me that he owes his entire career to the man sitting next to me, Chuck Swirsky, who was in Detroit. Dan gave him a tape. He had never done anything as far as big-time play-by-play. This was a simulated game, and he gave him an opportunity to do Michigan football. And he said his career has taken off. He now is a big league broadcaster in a major city, in a major sport. He does a couple of different sports. He's a terrific guy and a very good broadcaster. And he owes it all to Chuck Swirsky.
Well, you know what, Steve? Thank you for that, but it all goes back to Dan. He's an exceptional professional at his craft. Loves his job, loves baseball.
But the biggest thing is you have to have the opportunity, because there's a lot of guys that probably could do this, might have had an opportunity to do it, but they never got the chance. And he got it and made the most of it.
Yes, he did. Wilson swings and misses, so Robertson takes care of business. 1, 2, 3, all coming through strikeouts. And we go to the bottom of the 9th. 3-2 Tigers over the White Sox, folks. Will return.
vote 35 times on the 2015 Assurance MLB All-Star ballot at WhiteSox.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote early, vote often. Help select the starting lineups for the 2015 All-Star Game. Vote at WhiteSox.com now.
Alongside Steve Stone, Chuck Swirsky, we are in the bottom of the ninth here in Chicago. 3-2 Tigers as the Sox send up Abreu, Garcia, and LaRoche against Soria.
Got the right guys in the right spot against a very tough closer.
Jose with a 1-for-3 night. He doubled in the first, grounded to short in the third, and in the sixth. He has an RBI.
Abreu was trying to tie it with that swing, and he remembers he's 1-for-4 lifetime against Soria, and that one was a home run. He was thinking about another one there.
0-1 pitch. Abreu, who hit 36 last year in a Rookie of the Year season where he was spectacular. He's got 9 this season, and he's looking for 10 right here. 1-2 the count. Here in the bottom of the ninth, the White Sox have collected, however, only 4 hits against Tiger pitching. Cold strike 3.
That one just surprised him. It had the top part of the zone. He threw the slow, soft, tantalizing curveball, and Jose couldn't pull the trigger. Soria's had that his entire career, to go with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and it just locked up Jose.
I'll bring up Garcia, and Garcia homered in the 7th. The pitch.
Our Xfinity high-speed action replay is the aforementioned home run leading off the 7th. He took it the opposite way. Ryan didn't make too many mistakes. This was one, and it made it a 3-2 game, and that's where it stands.
Garcia is 1-for-3. Soria on the mound for the Tigers. He's going to be out of play. Garcia now facing an 0-2 situation with 1 out here in the ninth.
He's 0-for-4 lifetime against Soria.
One out, 0-2 pitch. What's Garcia looking for right here, Steve?
He's just trying to protect. If he gets a hanger, so be it, but you can't look for anything. Soria has too many pitches. That was a cutter. He's got the slow curve, and he's got an adequate fastball.
2-2 with 1 out. LaRoche on the on-deck circle for the White Sox here with 1 out in the ninth, trailing 3-2. Ground ball to Iglesias. Fires over the first, and the White Sox down to their final out.
Yet another slow curveball, and this time Javi able to make contact, but get it to the wrong guy, as Iglesias has been letter perfect at shortstop. There's a slow hook, puts it in a good spot. It's not a strike, but with 2 strikes, you got to protect.
So LaRoche, who has 6 homers on the season, looking to get on the base, and if not, perhaps put himself in a position to coax a walk from Soria.
Adam 0 for 3 lifetime against Soria. And that one, the hardest pitch he's thrown tonight, 94 miles an hour in on the hands of Adam, and he couldn't get the bat back, so he fouled it off. This one seemingly got away because McCann wanted it on the outside corner. You got to figure he didn't want to go that far in and risk hitting him, but he caught a break.
0-1 pitch, 2 outs, nobody on for the White Sox. Here in the bottom of the ninth, trailing 3-2. Here's a deep try, right center field, and it is out of here. Adam LaRoche has tied the ball game in the bottom of the ninth with a solo blast.
That's the 250th career home run, his 7th of the year. He's driven in 23, and in dramatic fashion, he's tied up the ball game. So the second blown save of the year as Soria gives up his 3rd home run. Our Ford home run replay, just barely enough. Davis goes back, gets trapped under the fence and can't get to it. So the game tied at 3.
Wow, what drama here in Chicago. We have a 3-3 ball game here in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. Adam LaRoche going yard.
And courtesy of Adam LaRoche, Quintana cannot lose it. Ryan cannot win it.
Melky with a pop-up. Shallow left. Iglesias with the catch, but we're going to go to extra innings. Why not? You got to love it. Adam LaRoche with a solo bomb to right center field. 3-3 ball game. Sox and Tigers. We'll be back right here on Comcast Sportsnet.
All season long, Jack Link's beef jerky, feed your wild side.
The man of the hour, Adam LaRoche. The reason we're still here and the reason it's a tie ball game. With 2 outs in the ninth, his 7th home run of the year, his first hit against Joakim Soria. Davis gets trapped under the wall. It's doubtful if he makes the catch. And a very happy dugout greeting Adam LaRoche. So 6 Tigers have gone down consecutively on strikes.
Robertson working his 2nd inning. As Steve mentioned, Robertson struck out Katsianis, McCann, and Wilson in the 9th inning. So we go to the 10th. Iglesias leading off. He's 2 for 3. It's a fly ball to left. It's going to be in foul territory. Ramirez makes the grab. What drama, huh? How about that? LaRoche ties it up in the ninth.
Well, the first powerful left-hand hitter to face Joakim Soria takes him out of the park. We saw it on the road trip consistently, a road trip that ended at 5-6, but the Sox battled back in a lot of games, made it very difficult, including the finale, losing 2-1 in 11. So hopefully tonight, in front of the home folks at U.S. Cellular Field, it'll be a different outcome.
Yes. Davis on for Detroit. He's 1 for 4. We have it out here in the 10th. Robertson in his first season with the White Sox. Heralded signing in the offseason. Had a solid career for the Yankees. (3-3) ball game. Ground ball backhanded beautifully by Sanchez over to first. He got it.
That's a big man to keep off base because he swiped 12 bags this year, and that was a hard hit ball to the right of Carlos. Good quickness, smothers it, and gets it across in plenty of time. That's a big out.
Again, we have seen Sanchez play so well at second.
A lot of ways to help your ball club win. And when you're not swinging the bat like you want to swing it, that glove comes in really handy.
Kinsler is 1 for 4, singled in the 6th for his only hit. 1 of 9 tonight for the Tigers, 5 for the White Sox. Last 2 runs for the White Sox have come from the home run ball, Garcia and LaRoche. Here's the pitch. Fly ball, right center. Eaton under it, makes the catch. We go to the bottom of the 10th. Here in Chicago, Robertson has retired all 6 men he's faced. Nice job for the veteran. We'll be back in a moment right here at Comcast Sportsnet.
At it. He's 1-1. His ERA 1.67, on for the 16th time. Only 13 hits in 27 innings. He's walked only 3. He was born in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
So perhaps he's not used to this cold weather.
In his first season, Wilson is with the Tigers, was in the Boston system, spent a couple of years with the Red Sox, but now we have, for the White Sox, Gordon Beckham here in the bottom of the 10th at a 3-3 ball game. Here's the pitch. Called strike.
Wilson came over with Gabe Spire and Yoenis Cespedes in the deal that sent Rick Porcello to the Red Sox on December 11th of last year. Jake Petrichka loosening in the pen as Robertson with 2 innings. That's just about all you want your closer to throw, if that. But for Robin and the boys, he bought an inning.
0-2 pitch from Wilson to Beckham outside.
Sox trying to tack loss number 8 in a row on these Tigers.
For the first time since 2005, should the Tigers lose this ball game. There's a ground ball up the middle, covered by Iglesias. Fires over to Cabrera, and we have 1 down here in the bottom of the 10th.
That was a tougher play than it looked because it was a high hopper and it stayed down. But Iglesias, who's made every play tonight, makes another one. As long as you keep your hands down, you can always come up with the hop. If you carry your hands high and that ball flattens out, it's going into center field.
Gio Soto with a modest 5-game hit streak steps to the plate against Wilson. Soto, a couple of homers, 9 RBIs, batting .214. We're in the bottom of the 10th with 1 out.
Wilson got away with that one as Soto on that hitting streak, 5 for 15.
Wilson, the 5th Tiger pitcher. 0-2 count with 1 out. 3-3 ball game here in the 10th.
It's wonderful to see the long ball back in evidence as the Sox having a hard time hitting it out of the park.
Routine ground ball for Iglesias. Quick release. He just snapped it with the wrist. And we have 2 on.
That time he had to back up. He chose his hop, but instead of charging it, he waited back, knowing he had some time with Soto going down the line. You watch him here. He starts to charge it, and that ball also flattened out on him. Boy, he's got great hands. Watch it again. You're seeing some shortstop, folks.
Yes. Sanchez 0 for 2. Had a sac bunt in the 8th. Be a perfect time for his first big league homer. Goes the other way. This is going to be out of play to our left.
10 ground balls to Iglesias tonight. Wow.
Again, as you often said, Steve, you know, to get something, you have to give up something. That 3-team deal with Garcia, along with Iglesias, and then you have Peavy going to Boston.
Sox very happy with that deal, and will be happy with it for quite some time, having Avi in right field. You know the Tigers are happy with it, and Boston was going for it.
Yep. 1-1 count. Make it 1-2.
Wilson really likes his slider, and the big gap is in right center field. If he does throw Sanchez a slider, there's a huge place for it to land. He went to the slider, but it was low and in.
If we go to the 11th, folks, leading off for Detroit will be Cabrera. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 3-3 ball game here in Chicago. Right back to Wilson. Underhand scoop toss. And we go to the 11th here in Chicago. 3-3 Tigers and White Sox in the series opener on Comcast Sportsnet.
All season long, Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side.
Sox pitchers have retired 11 in a row, and in the 8th inning, it was Zach Putnam with 3 strikeouts in his 1 inning of work. He was followed by David Robertson, who also fanned 3 in a row in his 1st inning of work. He also retired 3 in a row in the 10th, and that leads right to Jake Petrichka. On for the 21st time. He's 0-1, ERA .424. And he's got to go right through the heart of some very good hitters for the Tigers.
Cabrera is 0 for 3. Steve mentioned, let's see, we got Cabrera, we got Cespedes, and we've got J.D. Martinez.
And Miguel is 3 for 7 lifetime against Jake Petrichka. He's been held down tonight. He does have a walk. Has not hit the ball out of the infield.
He's got a very modest 6-game hitting streak. But again, he's had another banner year in Detroit, 2nd in the American League in hitting at .333. Two balls, no strikes. Cabrera, the leadoff man here in the top of the 11th. Right to Sanchez. That was a rocket.
That's why you've got 7 guys in back of you. You throw strikes, and sometimes they hit it at him. And fortunately, this was a rocket right at Carlos.
Cespedes is 2 for 4, singled in the 2nd, doubled in the 4th. One-0 pitch.
Second time in a row he's fallen behind, 2-0. First time was a line drive rocket. This is an offensive count. Cespedes, who is a home run hitter, is thinking about zone hitting, getting something middle in.
Ground ball. Alexei over to LaRoche. And they're 2 down.
Good sinker by Jake. because Cespedes was looking fastball all the way. Jake threw it down the middle, but it was sinking, and Cespedes hit the top of the baseball and grounded it right at Alexi.
So J.D. Martinez, he has whiffed 3 times tonight, Stephen. In the 2nd, 4th, and 8th. He singled in the 7th, and he scored a run.
His single and the walk, which came after, scored the 2 that put them on top at the time. Only to see a couple of home runs tie it up.
Jake is the 4th White Sox pitcher. Sox relievers got it done tonight. Putnam struck out all 3 of the batters he faced in the 8th. Robertson went 2 innings, struck out 3. Didn't give up a hit. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. We are in the 11th in a 3-3 ball game here in Chicago. Always a pleasure. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk. Ken will return on Sunday here with Steve Stone. We have a Fox TV broadcast nationally tomorrow with Johnny Danks on the mound for the White Sox. The pitch. Yesterday, the Tigers played an afternoon ball game in Detroit, got into Chicago early evening. The White Sox went 11 innings on the road in Texas. Got in about 3 in the morning.
Relatively late.
Yeah.
One of the great things I love about this city, you never really know what you're going to get. And driving home at 3:15, I ran into a rare traffic jam.
A traffic jam?
Yes, they had closed the freeway down to 1 lane. Traffic was backed up close to the ballpark. I could hit a driver to my house. I just couldn't get there. You don't find many 3:15 traffic jams, but...
See, the city of Chicago, hard at work.
There you go.
That's right.
City of surprises.
And the pitch.
That one just missed it. That looked like it was going to be a slider that slipped off Jake's hands.
Three and two, 2 outs for J.D. Martinez. Swing, and it is. He struck him out. And we go to the bottom of the 11th here in Chicago. Stick around, folks. Some more drama on its way. 3-3 ball game.
Price against Johnny Danks, that tomorrow evening. And then Sunday afternoon in the finale, Alfredo Simon against Jeff Samardzija. It's a big 3-game series. Houston comes to town for a 3-game series. Then an off day on Thursday, and surprisingly, it's back on the road again to Tampa and Pittsburgh.
We're in the bottom of the 11th inning in a 3-3 ball game. The White Sox started this evening's action trailing Minnesota by 7.5, and the Twins lost tonight at home to Milwaukee 10-5. So they're trying to pick up a full game on the Minnesota Ball Club. Here's the pitch. Adam Eaton is 0 for 4.
Wilson in very close at third. He's in on the cut of the grass. Cabrera very close at first. And Wilson has missed a couple of times.
Eaton on the season with 3 homers. He belted a couple on the road trip. 2-0 count to Adam Eaton. Wilson with the pitch. And it's 3-0. Do you take a couple here, Steve?
Well, for sure you're taking one. I don't think I'd take a second one. I think I'd let Adam swing because he can get out in front of one and a huge gap in right center.
Called strike, 3-1. Let's see what happens here with Eaton facing Wilson.
Well, he's going to get a fastball, and Wilson took a little something off to get that one over. Let's see if he does it again. It's going to be another fastball. Let's see where he throws it. That was on the inside part of the plate. And we've gone full.
Three and two, no one out here. Eaton, the leadoff man, bottom of the 11th in a 3-3 ball game. Backhanded off the mitt of Cabrera, and Eaton beats it out. And the White Sox have the lead runner on here in the bottom of the 11th at Adam Eaton.
We'll see what Bob Rosenberg has to say about that one. As it caroms off the glove of Cabrera.
I think you got to give him an error.
It is a base hit. Wilson covering the bag as he should. Kinsler did the best job he possibly could, but Eaton hustling, and that's the winning run at first base.
Well, Adam will take it. For Alexei Ramirez, Ramirez is 1 for 3. Eaton on at first with nobody out. Here's the pitch. Called strike.
Adam 3 out of 5 in the stolen base department. McCann gets rid of it quickly. He's got a strong arm.
Let's see what kind of a lead here Eaton can work on Wilson. No balls and a strike. Nobody out here. Bottom of the 11th, 3-3 ball game. Ramirez 1 for 3.
This is where a lot of managers like to run at 0-2, thinking, in the case of Wilson, he really likes his slider, thinking you might get a slider that'll pull McCann wide of the plate. On the other side of the coin, Osmus being a catcher, sometimes they call pitch outs. But this is a throw over to first base.
0-2 pitch. There's a base hit up the middle. Adam Eaton turns and goes to third. And we have runners now for the White Sox, first and third with nobody out.
Winning run 90 feet away as Alexei takes that 0-2 pitch. It was on the outer part of the plate. That was a slider. It didn't do a great deal, and Alexei with his second hit of the night to go along with a base on balls, and his elevation to the 2 spot in the batting order by Robin has paid some dividends. And just at the end of the day, might win this one.
for Jose Abreu, who's 1 for 4. He doubled in the first. Runners at first and third for the White Sox in the bottom of the 11th inning in a 3-3 ball game.
They're not going to face him here. It doesn't make any sense. You put him at first base. You go after the play at the plate. But there's one guy in every lineup that you don't allow to beat you. It's Miguel Cabrera in the Tiger lineup, and it's Jose Abreu in the Sox lineup.
Javi Garcia's going to have a chance to beat his old ball club here, Stephen.
Well, in a 3-1 game in the 7th inning, he led off the 7th with a home run. That made it 3-2 and set up the dramatics for Adam LaRoche, who with 2 outs in the 9th inning hit his 7th home run, which has allowed us to be where we are with the bases loaded, nobody out. Jeff Jones coming out. He wants a word with his right-hander.
Well, if you just joined us, Wilson put the Tigers in front in the 7th on a 2-run single to give Detroit a 3-1 lead. Then Garcia answered with a solo homer in the bottom of the frame. And then Adam LaRoche in the bottom of the 9th tied it up with a solo homer to right 7th. And that's where we stand right here in the bottom of the 11th inning here in the opening game of the weekend series against the Tigers, with Garcia at the plate with the bags loaded, Eaton at third, Ramirez at second, and Jose Abreu at first, with Wilson on the mound.
The infield is in at all 4 positions. They're in at the cut of the grass. The outfield has to play exactly where they can make a throw on a line drive and throw out Eaton at the plate.
1-0 count. Fans on their feet here, 24,761. Bottom of the 11th, 3-3 ball game. Nobody out. On a 1-0 pitch coming up for Garcia.
Now they've waved the outfield in at all 3 positions. They were too deep.
The pitch. 1-1.
Best arm in the outfield by far is Cespedes in left. As Javi doesn't want to swing at this. Just can't get the bat out of the way.
One pitch to Garcia. Catches the corner. 1-2.
Pretty good pitch by Wilson. He had the whole plate.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Garcia at the plate against Wilson. 1-2 pitch.
He hit him.
He hit him. Ball game over. Sox win. Sox win. Sox win. How often do you see this, Steve Stone?
Well, we see it on occasion, but I think there might be a challenge to this one. This one not quite over yet, so don't go anywhere as Brad Ausmus is coming out. He wants to talk with Laz Diaz. And Laz is saying that he didn't swing at it. It caught him on the forearm of the right arm. So the call is going to stand. That's called taking one for the club, yes. Chuck.
Wow, what a ball game. And the Sox win it in extra innings, 4-3.
Avisail Garcia, our player of the game, as you would expect for the home run in the 7th, and then getting hit with the bases loaded. That wins it in extra innings, and the Tigers go down to defeat for the 8th straight time, and the Sox win the first of a 6-game homestand.
Yes, and they pick up a game on Minnesota. Now only 6.5 out in the Central. Want to thank my broadcast partner, Steve Stone. Steve, you have been fabulous. Thanks so much. You're awesome.
And to you also, Chuck, it was quite a ball game tonight as the Sox battled back. Seemingly, this one looked like it was lost, but it wasn't.
So for Steve Stone, our director, Jim Angio, our producer, Mike Leary, our associate producer, David Ross, our tech manager, Mark Harper, our executive producer, Jim Cordo Jr., this Chuck Swirsky. Saying so long, everyone. Coming up next, Subaru Postgame Live with Chuck and Bill. You've been watching White Sox baseball on Comcast Sportsnet. Folks, it's been a pleasure.